Hey guys, Joe and Emily here from the Vantastic Life, and today I have a Van Tour 2.0 for you. Van is built by Momentum Vans, and we're gonna do the whole walkthrough, so stick with us until the end so we can get to all the nitty-gritty details for you.
I'm Brian Wright. I'm here with Momentum Vans. We just finished this beautiful build for Joe Bauer and Emily Kramer. So we started Momentum Vans after my wife and I purchased our own Sprinter van and just really enjoyed the lifestyle that we were able to live through having a van and having a mobile base camp wherever we went. We use our van 4 seasons. In the winter, we're out skiing and snowmobiling. In the summer, we're mountain biking and fly fishing and hiking, and we just really enjoyed that lifestyle, and we wanted to promote that to other people.
We're just gonna start right here at the front. We have the Line X on the hood, the front, and around the side and the back. We thought this would be fantastic, not only because it looks cool, but in our last van, we got a ton of chips coming at you on the hood area here, and we're hoping that that is going to prevent that from happening. We also, if we go up to the actual van, we have the fun rain sensing windshield wipers. We have the 360 cameras. We've got all of that fun assist stuff that comes with a pretty loaded Mercedes Sprinter van. Also under the hood here, we have an air compressor that we can use to inflate the tires if we decide to deflate them for a bumpy road, or if we get a flat or something like that, or we just need to take care of that. But the thing that we really like about it is that I'll show you in the end, we can inflate our mountain bike tires and get really ninja about that. Lastly, here in the front, we've got this Zombie Apocalypse light bar, which is very similar to our last van. It is absolutely great if you're driving down a really dark road, trying to make sure that you can see everything all around you. Let's go over to the side of the van here. As you can see, the Line X continues. We've got the black Rhino Warlord wheels there and the BFG all-terrain tires, which we also had on our last van and just loved the look so much that we got the exact same setup as we did before. I'll put all the information to like the specs on this stuff if you're interested, like the sizes and whatnot, down in the description, so make sure you check that out. We got tinted front windows. Actually, all of the windows are tinted this time except for the very front, which is nice for keeping privacy inside the van when we're driving, hanging out in the front. Momentum Vans installed porch lights here and back there. Really cool. You can adjust the intensity of the lights, so if you want it super bright or just kind of like mellow. Very cool addition that we didn't have before. Now if we come inside the van, the first thing you'll notice is we have this Roll-F bug screen, which is already proven to be just super cool. It rolls on up and magnets back together. So it completely covers the whole area here, keeps the bugs out, keeps the cool air in. We have just absolutely loved this thing so far. But let's go inside the van and check it out. The first thing that you'll notice is the layout of this van. It is vastly different than our last van that had the pop top, that had the big cabinets right here and the hangout area in the back, the galley on the right side. So we have a much more open floor plan for this van, starting with the galley being on the opposite side here. We went with the Korean sandwiched with the bamboo on the countertop and have absolutely loved it. Then we have the induction stove top, which we had last time and just wanted to keep the same thing because it is super solid as well for heating things very fast. Then one of the highlights of our new van here is this sink. Now you may be thinking, why does a sink really matter as long as it works? Well, our last sink was round and had a flip top, so this one is much deeper and much more functional than the round sink that we had before. Not to mention it stays up all of the time and just allows you to be able to access it, do dishes much easier, fill your water bottles. Everything is so much easier. You'll also notice that we have this handy soap dispenser, which allows you to not have to keep a soap bottle coming and going as you're using it, and it's just it's one of those little things that's just super easy to use this way rather than having the bottle. Some cool things to note about the whole sink system here is we have a fresh water, cold water filtration system built inside of this cabinet here. I should say Momentum Vans built it inside of the cabinet here. So if we're using cold water, it's going through this filtration, and then if we go to warmer water, it goes to a regular, full pressure, non-filtered water. Super cool for someone like me that likes to have as fresh water as possible. If we go to the driver's side, you see the windows on both sides of the van. We actually have windows on the driver's side and over here on the door side that you can't see right now, but it's essentially the same setup. There are openings on the bottom that are super cool because it allows us to pull ventilation from the fan through those windows and works really, really good in warm weather. Have this really cool flooring here. You'll have to contact Momentum Vans to get the exact name of the flooring. I cannot remember what it is, but it's been really nice. On our last van, we had lawn seal. It was very hard and very hard to clean. This one has been just a lifesaver for just feeling nice and being easy to clean. You may notice something strange here on the floor, and that is this little thing here. This is actually a drain for our interior shower. You might be asking, where in the world is the shower? Well, we have a shower pan, which you'll see in the back, that sits right in this location, and then the curtains come out to form a nice big square here and attach to these 4 points up here on the ceiling and allow you to use this faucet for running water, hot or cold, and take your shower right in this open space. So it can be completely open when you're not using it, but then you can add the shower in when you need to take a shower, say you're in a Walmart parking lot and it's super hot. And then back down to the galley here, we have the isotherm refrigerator that fits all of our eating needs. Very nice fridge. We've had 3 of them now technically. And then we've got these super great looking and durable bamboo cabinets. And right here we just kind of go through what we're using for storage, and you can see how we're doing this or how we have this set up. It's mostly Emily's system here, and I just follow along. This one's the coffee drawer, probably the most important. And then finally the protein bar drawer. Up to the upper cabinets, these all swing open, and you will see that we just have them as organized as we possibly can, subject to changing. One note is that this has a power system in the back of it, so we have it set up for all of our media devices. We've got the drone here, we have actually our Juve red light, we have all of our GoPro stuff, we have charging for phones. Really, really cool to have everything confined right there and not hanging out all over the van. And that's kind of a theme of this van, is we don't have stuff just hanging out everywhere like we did in the old van. Everything seems to have a space. Then something that was my personal request is that all of our systems controls get kept in this little box right here rather than having them on the outside, and that serves 2 purposes. It allows you to keep the look very clean like this on the outside, which I never really have liked how it looks if you have all of these guys hanging out on the outside. And then the other thing is we are sleep snobs, so we try and keep all of the artificial light out of our sleeping locations, and this keeps everything confined inside of this nice little box right here. If we keep moving back, we have these open shelves that right now we're just keeping them organized with REI bins, and all of our mountain bike stuff for now goes back there. Then we have our lighting systems, and these are just basically brights and dimmers or on and off for the lights that you can see about on the top, underneath. There's all lights pretty much everywhere that you could think of. And then if I stay on the light theme, something that's really cool that we love about this is we have the red light setup, which if y'all don't know, red light is great for before bed. It doesn't keep you up at night like other white lights and your phone does. So flip on the red light and you're good to go. Then we're cruising around. You can see that we have another bug screen in the back there, which we'll show you in a second. We have our bed, which is a huge difference from our last van, meaning that the bed stays up the whole time. Last time we had the pop top, the bed came up and down. We had to do a bunch of work in order to get the bed ready for sleeping. And this just stays right here, which is proven to be super cool. The bed system has flares on both sides, which you can kind of probably tell in the video, but you'll see much more from the outside. That allows me at 6'1" to fit almost just perfectly in that back side of the flares. Now, any taller, and you probably are too tall for the flare system, but at 6'1", I would say that it's just great. Works out awesome. We have windows on both of the flares so that we can open those up if it gets super hot and pull air over our body if it's a warm evening, and that's been excellent. Super happy with the bed setup and configuration. It also, when we're having to leave someplace, allows us to not have to pull the pop top down or put the bed away in order to drive away. We can pretty much drive away in about 5 minutes rather than 20 minutes. Then if we go to our lower or hangout section here, it's kind of funny because in, you know, apartment or something or a house, you go to a different room, but everything is right here. So the hangout section right here has storage underneath these bins, and you can see that we've got our toilet and some other household items in this one. Something to note is we have a strut here, so these things stay up so they don't slam back down or close on you, which is really nice. Then we have more storage underneath here as well, and both of these guys open up very similar. So you could put anything you want in there. We've got things like the Instant Pot inside of this one and some other storage items. Then the table and how we have set up for our workstation is that this guy rotates around, and you will see here that we can set this up like so, put a computer on, I can sit here, Emily can sit there, and we can get all of our work done. Or even if we want to turn this into a hangout situation, we can move the table over here, and we have a third piece of wood that sits right down here. These guys come off, that goes there, this one goes here, and it allows us to have a couch set up, and then we can hang out and do the couch thing. As far as power goes in this particular area, we have an outlet here with USB and USB-C. We have an outlet here with USB. There's another one for outside power access right down against that ottoman, and then there's some more in the back as well as in that this cabinet which I showed you earlier. For our heating setup, you can see down here we have a vent, we have another vent right here, and then we have a completely different blower in the garage space, which you'll see as we go into the back. The cool thing is that we essentially have the two heating units, and then the floor has a heating system underneath it as well. The whole floor is actually heated. So in our last van, we spent a lot of time in Colorado and it got super cold, and we stayed warm enough, but there was definitely improvement that could be made if you're gonna hang out in a skiing, snowboarding situation for any long period of time. So Momentum Vans made their custom heated floor on this van, which is super cool, not only for keeping you warmer from all angles essentially in the van, but from keeping you from freezing, which is probably even more important to us. Like, it's pretty easy to stay warm in a small confined area, but keeping your stuff and water systems from freezing, that is what it's all about. So the whole floor has heating going on in it and coming up. And reach out to Momentum Vans if you'd like to hear more about how awesome that system is. Moving into the front of the van, because I know that lots of people want to hear every single detail. We've got the swivel seats, and Mercedes has them as the programmable electronic seats, which is a huge upgrade from all the manual stuff that we had before. I love that I can come back, hit number 1, and it just goes right to my seat configuration. The table, AKA the Lagoon table here, can come off and attach to this unit, and we could have the table set up right there if we wanted to, or you could get a completely different table and have 2 tables if that was what you wanted. We have an additional table right here that pops into place, and you could sit. It is kind of a tight fit, but if you wanted to hang out right here, or if you wanted to have food, that would work just like that. In the front of the van, just like I mentioned earlier, it's a pretty loaded Mercedes Sprinter van. We've got the widescreen display, which has been quite the nice upgrade, the adaptive cruise control, buttons for the zombie apocalypse light, as well as the air compressor are up here. And in the front of the seat right here, which you will not see during our tour, we have electronic opening and closing of the gray water tank. So we have a gray water tank that runs for the shower and then one for the sink. And now we can just press a button that's down here and open and close those guys on the fly, which is great because then you don't have to crawl underneath the van and open the valve. And you could do it, you know, a lot of times the water that you're using is it's not black water or anything like that, it's just sink water. So if you find a nice dirt road, you can just open it and close it as you're driving down. Makes it very efficient for doing that and not having to stop the van. We have these really awesome straw foot window covers, which we had in our last van. That company is super cool. We highly recommend them. They black out, they're very high quality, and the people that run the company are very awesome. We have another set of light switches which program lights throughout the van, as well as the exterior lights that we showed you on this bank. And then where we keep all of our clothes currently is this headliner closet space. And my section is on this side, Emily's section is on this side. You can see that we're still kind of figuring out the organizational strategy for it, but it's working thus far and we may or may not change it. We also have a CO2 and smoke detector right there and a fire extinguisher down behind my driver's seat. All right, next up, we're gonna show you the garage space, which you can see right there. Zips open and closed. And you can see this bump is actually our mountain bike tires. Let me show you real quick. There they are. And you might be wondering, why didn't we just have the van configured so that the mountain bikes were completely out of the living space? And it's because we have these 4 or 5 inch, it's probably like 4 or 5 inches right there where they stick out and don't really bother us. But if we wanted to have them completely confined, then our bed would have had to have been longer and it would have taken up 4 to 5 inches from right here. So you can imagine I would be 4 to 5 inches right here and it would completely have taken that space up. Not to mention if we ever take the bikes out, then we just have a clean non-mountain bike tire sitting right there. So we've actually really liked not only having this divider here to keep things clean in the living space versus the garage space, but it allows you to not have to see into that garage space as well, so it feels like it's a completely different area. All right, let's head outside and then we'll go to the back and give you a full tour of that area. Okay, coming to the back of the van, you can see from the outside, we have the Owl Vans Expedition box. We have the one-up bike trays here, and the one-up bike trays we decided to go with because there's a few times every single year where we have extra bikes that we need to carry, whether it's us demoing bikes or having friends that we want to shuttle with, and having to put the bikes in our nice interior space is not something that we want to be doing. So this is a setup that is kind of just like a just in case, and we're going to be like not using that space anyway, so why not put those bikes there? Then we have the Owl Vans tire carrier to keep the tire on the back of the van, and this serves 2 purposes. Not only is it much easier to get this spare tire off if you have to change a tire on the side of the road, but we get to add an additional 20-gallon water tank to the spare tire carrier, which we've noticed that the things that you need to keep track of while you're out in the middle of nowhere are water and food and batteries. So we're trying to cover all of those bases right here, and having the ability to carry that extra 21-gallon water tank as a 50+ gallon total, which we'll show you in a second, is just something that everybody should do. It's not a huge upgrade as far as price goes, and is totally worth it. So we definitely love having that spare water tank. Inside of our Expedition box, it just has tools. There's an extra water pump in there, which pumps water from the lower tank to the upper tank, bike locks, hoses, electrical cables, workout equipment, this sweet alt-angle bike rack, bike carrier thing, which if you haven't checked out, you should. But just, you know, whatever the extra things are that you don't necessarily want to have inside of the van. Welcome to the garage space. From here we have some storage that goes on each side of the doors. This houses our extra rags, our shower head, and then on this side we have the air compressor cord. Coming back to the systems box here, this houses our 30-gallon water tank, as well as some of the electronical components that the van runs off of. We have lights going on in the back of the garage, which not only light the garage, but allow us to see better into how much water we have in our 30-gallon tank. We have the air compressor connector here, ventilation, the water mixer on/off for the shower system, which hooks up right here. For our exterior shower, the hose for this would snap into that particular location. On this side over here, we have an extra outlet, a couple different power sources, and we have all of our electronic panel right here. So we can flip any of these on and off, or if they get tripped, this is where we come to check all of that stuff out. You can see right here, if I highlight these two accessories, those are gray water tank heaters that you will not see on this review either, or this tour either, but they heat the gray water tank. So again, when we're in super cold conditions, we can keep the gray water flowing, and that's something that's never fun to have happen, is having your gray water tanks freeze up, and then the sink freezes up, and then you can't use your water unless you have a bucket. Hidden right up here, we have our StarLink router, which you can actually see right now. We have the StarLink dish out in the field there. We have two options for the StarLink because we work full time. So the StarLink is usually living up on the roof of the van when we're not driving it. It comes down when we're driving. You don't want to drive up there unless you have the one that is sitting flat. But the reason we don't have the one that's sitting flat is because sometimes, like in this situation, we would not be able to use the StarLink because it does not work. There's too many trees in this campsite. So we have a 150-foot cable that Momentum Van's really cool setup allows us to run out of the actual van, so it doesn't have to get closed in the door or anything like that, out of the van, underneath the van, and then 150 feet away. So right now we just need it a little bit further away for it to function, but it's an incredibly cool setup that allows us to just simply turn on the power and we have internet flowing as long as that dish is up. Right here, we do not have them in, but this is our snowboard rack. So at most times in the year, we'll have all of our snowboard and mountain biking gear. That was one of the major reasons for getting the new van. So the snowboards will just sit right here. You'll also notice, if you can get back in there, that is the shower pan that sits flat on the corner up in the front of the van where I showed you that cool little access to the gray water tank. So we just pop that off, set it down, put up the curtains, and we are good to go. Now for the fun part. We've got our mountain bike tray. This guy took some configuring to figure out the mountain bike setup, but we've got two full 29er mountain bikes here, or I should say full-size 29er mountain bikes here. We're still playing with our storage setup just a little bit, but we like where the bikes are, and we're figuring out where to put the helmets, the backpacks, the bags, the shoes, all of that stuff. We've really enjoyed having these storage boxes. This one has our mountain bike gear in it. That one has our RC car gear in it. As you can see, we're avid RC car fans. If you want to follow our RC car channel, just hit me up in the comments and I'll let you know what that is. But we are using this space for mountain bikes, as well as we have our dumbbells here. We've got another set of dumbbells back there, and then whatever else that we want to put in there, and ideally keep it as organized as we can. When this is in drive mode, we have a bunch of these volet straps that we use to strap the tires to the bikes and just make sure that everything is super tight before we get to driving. As well as, I should mention, we use them to strap down the dumbbells so that those things do not have any kind of like crazy flying dumbbell situations when we stop, or if something were bad to happen and get in an accident and cause more harm than they should. Next up, I'm gonna pull down the bug net in the back so you can check it out, but I wanna note that we have this little tug step, it's called here, which is cool because it has the toe points in case that we need to pull somebody or somebody needs to pull us out of a tough situation. It allows us to do that. And what I've noticed is really great that I wasn't expecting is just stepping on in order to get up, because this thing is tall. So whether we're just going to be pulling down the bug nets like I want to show you here, or having to get up and clean anything that's up on the actual back of the van. Very nice. So you can see here, this bug net is functioning in two ways. It can come down just to the midsection, so it keeps the bed nice and the interior all bug free, and it actually is waterproof as well. But this allows us to keep the garage space open without having to open up that total interior space. Then this comes down and it velcros down to the bottom there, and you've got a complete waterproof setup for your back of the van. The last thing to note back here is this shower system, which I showed you before. The shower head goes right here, and there's actually roll-off curtains that attach here, so it covers this complete section here on all these Velcro points covering this complete section, and then there's a third one that covers here, which allows you to take a completely private shower if you would like to in the back of the van. Y'all have probably been waiting for this to know about the battery system for a long time. So we have two 315 amp hours of batteries, so 630 amp hours of batteries in here. And I'm gonna put all of the specifics to what kind of systems we have down in the description. So I'm not an expert on this stuff, but if you guys are nerding out and want to know exactly what we got, just head over to the description. And if I miss it, just add a comment down below and I will figure out what the system is that you're interested in, and I will get that information for you. But 630 amp hours of batteries so that we can run the StarLink and all of our heating and cooking needs has been really great so far. So the last thing on the outside of the van here that I want to mention is that we have a Rome-built ladder to climb up on top of the roof, as well as a Rome-built roof rack, max tracks. Top on that rack, we have 310 watts of Zamp solar panels to help get us that extra juice when we're out in the sun. So if you guys like this video, we'd love it if you gave us the thumbs up, left a comment, hit subscribe. And if you would like any other information about the van, also leave us a comment, or any other videos. We can make those videos for you. But we thank you for watching. We thank you for being along for the ride, and we will see you on the next video.